Kondo looked at Hakuro, instantly recognizing his abilities. The next moment, the piercing clang of steel against steel echoed through the air. Kondo drew his sword and struck with the classical Edo move. Hakuro used his own hidden sword to catch it. Oh, you can catch this. Havengas, Hakuro's third eye, was open on his forehead. It had now surpassed the framework of an extra skill, even going beyond the realm of unique skills, and it allowed him to keep up with Kondo's sword drawing. A brilliant piece of work. But you share in the same school as my grandfather. Strange bedfellows indeed. You may call me a monster, but why don't you see for yourself just how well I understand the true meaning of the sword? Ha. Interesting. If you're that insistent about it, let me show you just how good I am. Thus began the battle between Kondo and Hakuro, with Gazel there to watch. Kondo dismissed Hakuro, believing no monster could master a sword style designed to slay them. He was fatally mistaken. The old swordsman was actually the elder brother of the style's true founder. He can use the school's innermost techniques, and that was beyond my expectations. But anything beyond that was only passed down to members of the original family. I don't know how capable this visitor was, but it'd be impossible for him to impart Oboro's innermost secret moves to a monster. It was perhaps inevitable that Kondo would use his common sense to come up with that judgment. But it was a big mistake, a rare unadvised assumption on his part, and the cost of making it would be high. Hakuro and Kondo squared up against each other. The moment they were within killing range, they simultaneously launched their attacks. Baika. Gokutatsu. Driven by pride and a reckless urge to prove his prowess, Tensura Kondo abandoned his composure. He unleashed the Gokutatsu, a secret 5-point stabbing technique symbolizing the plum blossom. It was the loftiest art of their shared school, yet unleashing such a move against a master like Hakuro proved to be a foolish, fatal miscalculation. Multi-layered blossom flash. Hakuro countered with the greatest of his own secret techniques, a continual flowing strike that slashed the enemy 8 times in an instant, in any of 1,000 different combinations. Kondo and Hakuro were equal in level, but there was a big difference in their core fighting abilities, and by Hakuro's reckoning, Kondo was dozens of times more physically gifted than him. If this skill didn't work, in essence, Hakuro's defeat was all but certain. It was with that resolve in mind that he drew his sword. Ho. Kondo was aiming to overwhelm his foe. Hakuro wanted to deliver a fatal blow, even if he had to go along for the ride. That's what both were hoping for with this clash of skills, but both of them wound up off the mark. Hakuro's blade slashed 8 times, like a multi-layered cherry blossom shedding its buds, faster than any regular person could see. But they were offset by Kondo's 5 plum petals, failing to reach their destination. Kondo reared back, and thanks to that, Hakuro only managed to graze his cheek even. That, however, was an unfortunate result from Kondo's point of view. I never thought there was a swordsman in this world who could surpass me. Hakuro's blossom flash was superior as a technique to Kondo's Gokutatsu. That fact shattered all preconceptions for Kondo, forcing him to admit his mistake. But it was still Kondo who won the duel. Hakuro was brilliant up to the point where he offset Kondo's technique, but the difference in power was too great. The clash just now had cut Hakuro's arms to gruesome ribbons, rendering them useless. Not even the most powerful of my moves could reach you. No, it did. Allow me to apologize for looking down on you. That, and I wish to ask. What was your grandfather's name? Kondo was sorry for looking down on Hakuro as a monster. He wanted to pay his respect to this man, now clearly a better swordsman than he. When it came to the blade, at least, he was a sincere person, but at the same time, he never judged matters based on his personal feelings. That was how Tensura Kondo worked. Ho. My grandfather was named by Kiyaraki. A swordsman without equal, but he sadly left us for the afterlife long ago. A pity. And Araki is the surname of the head family of Oboro Shinmei. He may have been related to the founder indeed. If he had at least reached the level of enlightened, he surely would have been one of the most powerful people in the world. Kondo offered him a silent word of prayer. When it came to his own sword school, he was all business. Hakuro looked down on him and sighed. My grandfather was an eccentric man, you see. He preferred to live life at his own pace. But do you think you could step aside for now? Hakuro decided to risk the question, sensing Kondo's respect for him. But it was not to be. I will ensure you are protected, but I cannot stop this war. The way I see it, the worst thing you can do is take half measures. Kondo was nonchalant in his reply. Hakuro assumed as much. He was in no panic about it anyway. I already knew I was going to lose. I'll never make it back to the battlefront with these arms, but I suppose I've done what I set out to do. Hakuro fought not for victory, but to impart a final lesson to Gazel Dwargo. By exposing Kondo's secret techniques through their clash, the elder swordsman provided the swordmaster with the vital hints needed to evolve. Gazel watched intently, absorbing the lethal insights that would ensure his eventual triumph. I suppose I am done here, then. No need for further protection. I have zero intention of living in disgrace. If my last moments are nigh, I want to take as many enemy soldiers as possible along with me, but now is not the time. For now, I need to concentrate on healing these hands. They were gravely wounded, beyond what even a full potion could heal. One of the deepest secrets of battle will involve permeating a target with one's own fighting spirit to destroy it, and Kondo's spirit had penetrated Hakuro's defenses during combat. The only way for Hakuro to heal them was to neutralize the force with his own aura. But Hakuro looked unaffected as he turned toward Gazel. Now, King Gazel, have you cooled down yet? Of course. Seeing your techniques in motion astounded me, my master. Ho ho ho. I actually did not intend to teach you that, but I wasn't in any position to hold back. The rest, I leave up to you. Yes, master. Hakuro stepped back as Gazel stood in front of Kondo. Then he slipped away from the front lines, holding his head high, as if his part of the war was now over. Now Kondo and Gazel were facing each other again. Kondo, still ashamed of his own shallowness, mentally flipped the page. I suppose I lost my cool a little. That's enough playtime for now, though. Time to get back to work. I hate to say it, but I agree with you. I must live up to my master's expectations, and so, I will give it my all. Kondo and Gazel both looked different from before. They knew each other's full abilities now, and they were serious about this. Gazel was grateful to Hakuro. If he kept fighting Kondo earlier, his defeat would have been inevitable. The secret Gokutatsu move Kondo used would have been impossible to defend at first sight. Even if it miraculously failed to fatally wound him, Kondo's fighting spirit would have destroyed him from the inside like it did with Hakuro, rendering him incapable of fighting. I didn't realize all that driven fighting spirit could be so much of a threat. I knew that was one of Battle Will's most powerful secret techniques, but perhaps I didn't fully understand it before now. Gazel felt a bit uplifted as he reflected on this. There was still room for him to grow. Kondo was your name, wasn't it? Well, enjoy having a taste of my full powers. As soon as he said it, Gazel released his own secret move. Spirit Summon. Elemental Lord of the Nameless Earth, come to me. Unleashing his power as a saint, Gazel invited the Earth Elemental Lord to ensconce itself in his body. They were fully unified now, and they had energy stores that rivaled or even exceeded that of an ancient awakened demon lord. It operated on a strict time limit, but it was still Gazel's ace in the hole. But Kondo was unfazed. Ridiculous. Even exposed to Gazel's onrush of energy, Kondo remained calm. Gazel didn't show any displeasure at this, holding his sword forward. Sharpening his mind, he let the will flow within him, pouring it into his blade. Gazel now had perfect control over the vast amounts of energy being unified, with the Earth Elemental Lord granted to him. It was a feeling unlike anything he had experienced before. Well done, Master. You allowed me to tap into the innermost workings of this skull, did you not? Now, I can win. I can reach even greater heights than ever before. He could feel his mind, his heart, and his body all rise up. His mind itself was a skill, energized with his full mastery of the unique skill Tyrant. His skills were an art, the art of Crestwater as taught by Hakuro, capable of converting spiritual energy to physical force. Right now, Gazel could use it to gather all the energy coursing through his body, and focus it on a single target. Tyrant allowed him to put it all together, letting it grow into the best possible strike he could manage. He was sure no one could defeat his sword and, now he made his move. A strike of divine speed. But it never reached Kondo. There was a small bang, and Gazel fell to his knees with a clatter. Caw. Blood poured out of his mouth as he looked down, dumbfounded at the red streak spreading across his stomach. Kondo's Nambu semi-automatic handgun was in his right hand, a cloud of gunpowder smoke billowing from it. The bullet that felled Gazel had been fired from that very gun. Where is your pride as a swordsman? Gazel spat out blood as he spoke, his face contorted with anger and humiliation. But Kondo couldn't have cared less. I told you I was done with playtime. Pride is useless in a battle. My duty is to win by any means necessary. His voice was cold, a completely different tone from the person so concerned with his sword technique a moment ago. Nonsense. This much won't be the end of me. Gazel tried to stand up, a look of desperation on his face. But he couldn't move his body the way he wanted, and soon, he was on the ground again. And no wonder. It was no mere bullet Kondo shot him with, but an Necrosis bullet, a special type that contained Kondo's own will. It wasn't driven by something he borrowed from Emperor Lidor, but rather an ultimate skill he had manifested on his own. Kondo had literally used his own power to awaken himself into an ultimate skill. This skill was Sandalphon, Lord of Judgment, and the command it held over battle made it supremely strong. It allowed him to fight on behalf of Emperor Lidor, a human being, who desired to attain the throne of God himself. Sandalphon was what powered his Necrosis bullets, which could destroy the veins and outlets through which magic flowed in the target's body, allowing him to kill even spiritual life forms. Gazel was no weakling. In fact, he was one of the strongest people in the world. If the conditions were right, he could even defeat an awakened demon lord. But against Kondo, there was a strength barrier that not even he could ever overcome. It all came down to the presence, or lack thereof, of an ultimate skill. In that respect, the duel was decided even before it took place. Don't waste your time. I have no intention of killing you, Your Majesty. I will detain you for the time being, but when everything is settled, I promise you will be released. Kondo's voice was calm. He wasn't lying, but naturally he wasn't telling the complete truth, either. Gazel would be released, but only after a Dominion bullet allowed Kondo to exercise his full domination over him. This was what he used to take control of Kigali, and it was also why he wanted to capture Gazel alive. It was an act as terrifyingly ruthless as it was perfectly rational, and that, too, said everything about the nature of Tensai Kondo. Hakuro, too, was no longer in any position to move. Witnessing Kondo's strength left him meekly standing there, looking frustrated. At this point, Kondo's victory seemed all but assured.